to lead the Learning Communities Resource Center, and today we very much look forward to sharing information with you about what to look forward to as it relates to getting involved in 2019. And so as we begin today's presentation, I want to quickly ground ourselves in the promise of community action, which says this: community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. We care about the entire community, and we're dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. And so during the course of today's presentation, I want to just give you a quick view of what to expect. Our agenda is here, and really during the course of the presentation, hopefully this agenda points to the wonderful free technical assistance that you have as community action agencies to move your families forward. And so we'll take a couple more moments for welcome and introductions. Additionally, I will provide you all with an overview of the learning community. You'll have an opportunity to hear from your peers at the Wayne Metro Community Action Agency in Detroit. They will share a transformation story as current members of the learning community. And then we'll talk to you about what the specific learning community group opportunities are in 2019. And we are pleased to announce that the 4 new intensive learning community groups are community economic development, which will focus on social enterprise, health intersections, which will focus on community level and program level strategies for promoting health and well-being, results at the community level with a focus on collective impact, and then finally implementing innovative practices, which is really an opportunity for more advanced agencies to receive implementation technical assistance. And so at the conclusion of our time today, you will also learn more about the details of the application process and what the criteria are, and then ask us any questions that you have. And so again, we thank you for joining today's presentation, and we would be remiss by not taking a moment to acknowledge and thank our funder from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Family, the Office of Community Services, Division of Community Assistance. It's through a cooperative agreement from this entity from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which really serves as an investment in our network's ability to really strike at and begin to address the causes and the conditions of poverty. And the hope is that given that they have made the investment through resources, that you would consider an investment of your time and your attention to thinking differently about the way your agency does business, so as to promote a thriving economic future for everyone. And so with that said, I want to also acknowledge the wonderful, wonderful partnership team. It's really a team effort that we engage in order to bring this kind of technical assistance to you. You're not able to see these persons on the screen, but I am joined by my wonderful, awesome colleague, Dr. Jarl Crocker, who is the Director of Training and Technical Assistance, my colleague, Liza Porras, who is a Program Associate, Kevin Kelly, who is the Director of our Community Economic Development effort, and you'll hear a little bit more about him and from him later, and my wonderful colleagues, Hyacinth McKinley and Courtney Kohler. Hyacinth serves as a program associate, and Courtney serves as our senior associate on the project. And it really indeed takes a village in order to do this work and do it effectively. Finally, I want to acknowledge our awesome Chief Executive Officer, Denise Harlow, who will be joining us later in today's presentation as well. And so very quickly, we want to give you an opportunity to get engaged with the presentation today. And so by now, there should be a poll that appears on your screen with some questions that we want you to answer for us. And the questions are as follows. Would you like to improve program outcomes? Do you have an idea you would like to transform into action? Do you want to utilize data to inform your work and to basically perform better? Would you like a group of community action peers to brainstorm ideas and share experiences with? Would you like access to peers and subject matter experts in the field? And so these are yes or no questions, and if you would just take another second or two to provide us with your responses, we would appreciate it because we want to hear from you. All right, and do we have some results? And oh wow, I'm looking over at the poll results here, and it looks like there are a lot of yeses out there, because here is the deal. If you answered yes to any one of these questions asked today, we're here to say that the learning community is for you. It's for you. And with that said, at the top of the presentation, we want you to know how to join. You don't have to wait until the end. We're going to tell you now, and that is, one, you need to decide that it's for you, and then two, we provided a link here. It is moodle.communityactionpartnership.com. You go to Moodle, you're going to set up a profile for yourself, and really only one agency has to apply at a time. And so if there are multiple people at your agency who want to participate, then you apply as an agency, and the deadline is January the 25th, 2019, and we're going to tell you a lot more about this, but we wanted to make sure, especially for those of you who are just so excited and chipping at the bit, so you would know how to join and that we're ready for you to join now. And so with that said, let's take a minute to reflect on this question of why. Why the learning community, and why this kind of intensive technical assistance that is so peer-focused or peer-centered? Why this kind of engagement or investment? And my first response to that is, well, yes, we're all in the anti-poverty business. And the good news is that as we look at the poverty statistics, especially most recently, the outcomes are improving. And so the statistics are moving more so in the positive direction, or more so in favor of the communities and families that we serve. However, the reality is that it's still with us, and there are opportunities for more improvements to be made. So, for example, while poverty in 2016 declined to 12.7% for certain subgroups. So, for example, for the Hispanic population, there were 26.6 persons who were Latino children who were poor, and there were 30.8% African American children who were poor. And this is in comparison to 10.8% of non-Hispanic white children who were poor. The other thing to layer onto this realization is that as we think about these subgroups, the trends are telling us that by 2020, so the year 2020, the number of children of color within our population will actually be at majority levels. And so in essence, by the year 2020, children of color will be in the majority. And if children of color are being impacted adversely as it relates to poverty in our country. In many ways, this puts the economic future of our entire society at risk. And so much more is needed as it relates to our efforts to address poverty, and in particular, our efforts to address subpopulations within our society are what I would say are urgent and require a different kind of innovation. And so as we think about this whole notion of uprooting poverty, we are the Community Action Network, and not only are we a network of community action agencies, we are leaders, and we have a long history of moving individuals and communities forward. However, as I said earlier, there's still more that we must do, and collectively we have to use our innovative, evidence-informed strategies to carefully continue to dismantle the forces that are pulling our communities apart along those social and economic lines. And so we have an opportunity to empower even more low-income families so that they can thrive and really become active members in our communities. And so here's the question, or here's a statement to consider. If we think the way we have always thought, then we will always get what we always got. And the truth is that it's still time to innovate. It is still time to do things a little differently. It's still time for a change. And so then ultimately, the learning community is here as a tool and really as a resource to all of you, to the entire network, and hopefully you will be motivated to think differently about how your agency does business. And also, hopefully, your agency will think differently about its approach to its processes and the way in which its culture exhibits itself in relation to not only customers, but its staff. And the big thing, and this is something that is talked about throughout our network, is the learning community will provide you with an opportunity to think different about leadership and how to use that to advance change. And at the end of the day, our goal is, as a community of learners, to explore what works, learn about that as a network, and then ultimately to replicate that, so to share that learning and to not only do it in one agency, but really do it all over the network and all over our country, because our big goal is to improve impact, or really maximize impact for individuals, for families and communities, so that ultimately poverty will be uprooted. And the thing I want to also mention to you is that our approach within the learning community is very much informed by the national community action theory of change. And so just wanted to call that out to you as well as you're thinking about how to connect the dots. And so with that said, I'm excited to take a moment to pause, and I'm going to ask our wonderful colleagues from the Wayne Metro Community Action Agency in Detroit, Michigan, to unmute themselves, because we're going to engage in a live interview with them today. And so, Wayne Metro Community Action Team, are you on the line?
Yes, this is Miguel Leon and John Brophy. Can you hear us?
Well, we can hear you just fine. And so we have Miriam Lilion and Joan Brophy here with us today. And as we move forward with this conversation, I have a question for you. And that question is, can you tell your peers about your project? So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in the learning community.
Yes. What we try to do is to change our organizational culture from a silo approach and referral emergency system, service delivery system, to an integrated and on-the-go service delivery system to help people that were behind their property taxes and helping them to stabilize their housing situation and also change their financial behavior, and at the same time increase their savings. That was the whole purpose. In that case, we target our emergency services and our foreclosure services for integration. And we target people that were at risk of losing their home because they were behind their property taxes. And we assume that they were behind that because they had some kind of a cash flow imbalance. And we were not thinking that they were behind their property taxes because they didn't want to pay. It's just we assumed that they were willing to pay, that they didn't have the cash flow to do that. In that case, we deployed several strategies, and one was we offer match saving for emergency and also to be reinstated in the payment plan. And we also offer intensive soft touch coaching with monthly contact to encourage them to be successful. And we also focus in the client goal and the outcome for the client, not in the program outcome.
Great. Thank you so much for just sharing that background. And so lots of connection points with your customers. You all were participants of multiple learning community groups this year, in that you were a part of our Whole Family Approach Learning Community Group and also the Integrated Services Learning Community Group. And your particular team was involved in the Integrated Services group, and so we can hear sort of those multiple touch points from the housing assistance to that financial empowerment connection that you were able to make for your customers in a holistic or integrated manner. And so is it possible for you all to share then a little bit more about what you learned as a result of being a part of the learning community that you wouldn't have had access to learn about otherwise? Can you say a little bit about that for the listeners?
Yes. Well, the first thing that being part of this learning community helped our leadership team members to allocate time to be involved in leading the transformational strategy and integration effort. You know, leadership gets very busy, and sometimes the idea of integration sounds a big task. And in that case, by being part of the learning community, they decide to and choose to allocate time to that. And also, the other portion was that we were able to bring a team member from different programs and different departments and from different leadership levels, and we worked together in the development of the implementation plan, identifying which program we were going to focus on, and also creating and developing a client journey map and the goal plan. The other thing, as I said at the beginning, integration thing that was going to happen several years ahead, but by being part of this group, we were able to test how financial capability services were able to be integrated with our emergency services, and we did that in 10 months, and because our coordinated effort. Okay. The other thing is that we got new opportunity for new funding streams.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And so what I think I just heard you say was that it created an opportunity for leadership within the organization to think about some overall organizational shifts or changes that needed to be made so that the integration would play out in a more cost-effective fashion. And I think I heard you say that your integration of your financial capability work with your emergency services was able to be accomplished in 10 months. And so that is a wonderful success and a huge accomplishment to hear. And so here's one final question then that I would like for maybe both of you to speak to, and that is, what is next for your program? And so, Miriam, I heard you say something about new funding opportunity. Would you like to say a little bit more about that? And just what is next for your agency as a result of its participation in the learning community?
Well, we had some new funding that is going to allow us to implement a pilot where we are embedding or integrating financial coaching and match saving within emergency services, and but for people that are behind the bill, not only on the property tax bill, but all overall utility payment bills and any other kind of emergency situation. We are integrating that. We are integrating coaching with that. Also, in partnership with the county, we are applying for the new funding to continue doing integration of financial coaching and match saving, and specifically for the property tax people and that are at the immediate risk of foreclosure. The other thing that we're going to continue doing is equipping our frontline staff with financial coaching skills and tools. In that way, they feel confident about having financial discussion with their client when the first time that they're coming for services. And we're going to continue educating our internal stakeholders to buy in on the integration of coaching and match saving within emergency services and other services like Head Start and weatherization. And that is what we see that is next, and we had got additional funding too.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Joan is going.
Tiffany, this is Joan, and we also had Alicia. Hi. We also had Alicia Ramon.
Yeah, welcome.
Hi.
Yes. We did want to share with you that after doing the whole family approach learning community and the integrated service community, we had an opportunity to apply for a grant from the Kresge Foundation, which has been difficult for us to more or less make a connection with. They're looking at a pilot for 5 nonprofits in the city of Detroit to look at what the next generation of human services organizations look like. And they specifically talked about integrating services, using a whole family approach, and using a client-centered model. And so what we learned in these learning communities was really integral in being able to write the proposal and speak to those issues and be selected as one of the 5 organizations.
So congratulations to your agency, and thank you so much for sharing your story of transformation. And so to all of our listeners here today, I want to just quickly emphasize that what Wayne Metro has said has happened is that there has been a change as it relates to its leadership and its organizational efforts to ensure integration to meet the needs of their customers across multiple domains, particularly financial capability, and this has helped them to move some of their implementation efforts forward. And then also, in addition to that, it positioned them for new opportunities for funding and investments to further strengthen their work. And so I think that is a wonderful advertisement about what the potential is for the learning community, what that can do for all of you who are on the call. And thank you again to the Wayne Metro team. This concludes our interview. Thank you. All right, and so again, the learning community is for you, and we want to take a few minutes to talk a little bit more about the magic, and when I say the magic, sort of what those necessary ingredients are to help the overall experience achieve the wonderful kinds of outcomes for an agency such as a Wayne Metro Community Action. And so, in essence, even research supports the fact that when organizations have an opportunity to access intensive technical assistance and connect with peers in the field and other experts and share a common agenda and really ultimately learn together, there's an opportunity for growth, and really there's an opportunity for innovation. And so in essence, your agencies have a great opportunity to improve the results for your customers, and not only to do that, but to change your agencies and ultimately change the whole community action field. And so we want to quickly let you all know a little more specifics about what the membership engagement would look like for you as members. You will have an opportunity to access free, let me say this word again, free intensive technical assistance, and you will have access to some of the most amazing leaders in the human services field for free, and you will have ongoing access to your peers, so peer agencies like Wayne Metro for free. And this will play out through monthly meetings. It will play out through webinars that we provide. You will receive ongoing resources related to your respective focus areas. You will have an opportunity to work on plans that we will support you with, and you will receive technical assistance related to those plans. And additionally, you will have an opportunity to participate in key community action partnership events. And so, for example, we will have a convening of the learning community, in-person convening of the learning community annually at the partnership annual convention, and you will receive a discount to even attend. And so with that said, let me take a moment to talk a bit about our overall framework. I have already mentioned that there are 4 intensive learning community groups, and so all of the things that I just mentioned, all of you as members of intensive groups will have access to those. And so those learning community groups are community economic development, focused on social enterprise, health intersections, as I mentioned, which will focus on programmatic and community-level strategies to promote health and well-being, implementing innovative practices, which is an advanced group that will receive technical assistance as they are implementing their approaches, and then results at the community level, which will focus on collective impact or community level strategies. And so these are our new groups for 2019, as was mentioned. We will have another group that is continuing from last year, our community of practice, that is focused on the whole family approach, and so they will continue their work alongside of all of you within the learning community, and there will be several ways in which we engage you in order to reinforce your learning process. At this time, I'd like to ask my wonderful colleague, Courtney Kohler, she's the Senior Associate on our team, to talk a little bit more about these opportunities and to introduce our subject matter experts. Courtney? Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Thank you, Tiffany. So if we go to the next slide, which I actually have control over now, so I'll do that myself. We have our intensive learning community groups that Tiffany just mentioned, and so wanted to give you a little bit more information about these groups and introduce you to those experts that we're going to be having sharing their knowledge with you. So Tiffany already mentioned the names of the groups, so you can see kind of our focus areas for this next year are health intersections, collective impact, social enterprise, as well as implementation for those groups that have already been working on whole family approaches, integrated services, and financial empowerment. So these intensive learning community groups, you can see here on your screen the different descriptions for these groups. So our Community Economic Development Department here at the partnership, we have our subject matter expert, Kevin Kelly, who I'll have speak here in just a moment. But he's going to be focusing this group in on social enterprise. So realizing that potential of operating a social enterprise, meeting community needs for jobs and services, and generating that flexible income for community action agencies. Then the health intersections really explores those connections that we know are present within the health sphere, so kind of focusing on that connection between community-based organizations and the health system in the community, as well as how to really effectively address and screen for the social determinants of health with families. And then collective impact, we're going to be looking at those community-level needs, how to create community-level change, and while working together with external stakeholders to really make that community-level change. So taking kind of a deeper dive to the results of the community-level learning community group that we've had in the past. Then the Implementing Innovative Practices group, as Tiffany kind of mentioned, that this is that advanced level group that's really going to be focusing on implementation this next year. So it is a prerequisite that people who are applying to this learning community group must have been involved in one of the intensive learning community groups in the past year or two. And part of that requirement is that they have a completed goal plan that they can submit with as a part of their application. And so this one is the only one that creates an additional requirement. The other three are available to any new or continuing learning community group agency teams. So with that, I'll go ahead and introduce our subject matter experts. So for our Health Intersections Learning Community Group, we have Dr. Dana Long. We've actually been working with her over the past year and a half or so within our open learning community group around health intersections. We've been doing some national webinar presentations on that topic. But she's actually going to be serving as our subject matter expert here and doing some more intensive training and technical assistance with the agency teams who end up in this group. And so we're pretty excited about that. We have a learning agenda that involves looking at integrating health services within the organization, as well as looking outside the organization to those partnerships to bridge the gap between those community-based organizations and the health system. And then again, looking internally at how do we effectively address the social determinants of health through screening and assessment of those determinants. So we're excited to have her with us. She is from the Department of Community Health and Engagement out in Oakland, California at the Children's Hospital. Then we also have Jennifer Juster. We've also worked with her in the past more in national webinar series, but she's going to, again, be doing some of that more intensive training and technical assistance with the learning community teams that are in the results of the community level collective impact learning community group. And so she's going to be doing about a 4-month intensive series within this group, really focused on collective impact and moving that initiative forward that agencies maybe are starting on or might be kind of emerging through and working toward. Then we also have Dr. Barbara Mooney with us. So we work with her a lot, and she's with the Association of Nationally Certified Roma Trainers. And she's going to be serving as a subject matter expert within the results at the community level learning community group, as well as just as we look at goal planning and design plans for the learning community groups, she serves as a general subject matter expert as well. Then we also have Carmen Shorter, and she is with Prosperity Now. We have used Prosperity Now with our financial empowerment learning community group, and so they are going to be serving as a subject matter expert with Implementing Innovative Practices, the advanced level learning community group. And so Carmen Shorter will be joining us for a series for some different technical assistance and such within that group as well. In addition, we have Rachel Brooks from the Prosperity Agenda, and we are going to be focusing in on family-centered coaching, financial empowerment, collective impact, as well as racial equity within the Implementing Innovative Practices Learning Community Group. And so this is another subject matter expert that will be coming in for a series of peer learning and sharing meetings to provide that additional technical assistance and training. And then, like I mentioned, we have our own Community Economic Development Department at the partnership. Kevin Kelly is the director of that at the Community Action Partnership. And so I'm going to give him just about a minute or so to talk a little bit about the Community Economic Development Learning Community Group and what you could potentially learn about social enterprise.
Okay, thank you, Courtney. I'm very excited about participating in this year's Learning Community Group with a focus on social enterprise. I just want to point out in the application some of the questions that are specific to social enterprise that are important for you to respond to, because it will determine somewhat what we end up doing as far as the program. There's a couple of things that are really important. What are you looking at? What's your goal? Are you trying to make as much money as you can, which then allows you to serve more people with your social services? Or as in some cases, are you trying to provide employment to people who have high barriers to finding jobs? And they're two different things, and so we'll need to know what the focus is of the people that are in the group so that we can have experts that correspond to what your needs are. Also, are you doing something already, or are you just taking the next extra step to create a social enterprise? We had a call this week with a member in Utah who's got a Head Start program and they have a kitchen there, and they use that to take another step forward to do a social enterprise. Others are doing something completely different. That's not really related to other things they've been doing already. Again, there's a question about that, and it'll be helpful for me to know what you're planning to do. We will have some sessions on, should you separate off an entity that's going to be on its own with the parents, that's your community action agency, or are you going to keep it within the CAA itself? You're going to bring in some outside resource people. There are resources outside the Community Action Network that we want to share about social enterprises. And I also just want to emphasize the point that Tiffany made earlier, that we really do want to see you at the annual convention and also at the MLTC, as we will be convening participants at both of those.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you. And thank you, Courtney. And so we have a lot to offer you, and what we want to say about the Intensive Learning Community Group experience is that it is a process. So you'll have an opportunity to learn the whole way. So we'll be building knowledge the whole way, and you'll have an opportunity to get to know your peers better. You'll have an opportunity to put together plans, and we'll provide you with technical assistance as you put those plans together. And then you'll have a chance to implement or test those plans out to really explore what works. And we'll be there with you in that part of the process. And then finally, the big piece, in my opinion, is you'll have an opportunity to share what you have learned, share about what works with the larger Community Action Network so we can all continue to innovate and to grow together. And so the other thing that I want to call out is what we would call our common threads, or really those key concepts that will be interwoven or embedded throughout the entire process, those being our performance management framework itself that focuses on collecting data, reporting data, and analyzing data, but also those key concepts that include trauma-informed approaches, racial equity, and family-centered coaching. So stay tuned for some specific opportunities to learn more in those spaces. And a key location or a key way that we will share knowledge as a learning community will be through our national webinar series. It's every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We have what is called Webinar Wednesdays, where we will share expert-led webinar presentations. Additionally, we have a wonderful platform which is called Community Action Academy, which will offer on-demand courses or training, as well as resources and opportunities for each of your cohorts to communicate with one another and for you to communicate with experts. And we are excited that in 2019 we will have some special new courses that will come online focused on collective impact, trauma-informed approaches, financial empowerment, and much more. So stay tuned for these learning opportunities. And so with that said, I'd like to hand over to my colleague Hyacinth McKinley, who's going to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of the criteria process. Zandy, are you ready?
I am. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
All right. Thanks so much, Tiffany. And thanks again, everyone. So you've heard about our process. You've heard about our great subject matter experts and all the different ways to get free, I'll say it again too, training and technical assistance. So now the last thing for us to talk about is just what do you need to do to apply? So the first thing that we want to highlight for you all is that we're asking that any agency, and this training opportunity is also available to, we want to make sure to say the state associations, CSBG offices, anyone really within the Community Action Network that's interested in learning about these topics, you're welcome to apply. But we're asking that each organization apply in teams of at least 3. And we find that just helps you guys to manage all of the different assignments and meetings and really keep track of progress as you move throughout the cohort. And it also helps to make sure that amongst your team members that at least one person is an agency decision maker. So whether that is a program director, whether that's a department head, maybe it's a part of your senior management within your organization, just someone who has that ability to bring forward the different initiatives and information that you're learning and really move it forward within your organization. But in addition to that decision maker, we also recommend that organizations that apply also have a mix of program staff and data analysis staff that are going to be kind of leading their agency through their participation in the learning community group. That way, across all levels of your organization, you're having people that are participating in this learning, that are coming to these meetings, doing these assignments, thinking about these things together to really make sure that your time within the learning community is as impactful as possible. So in addition to those teams of 3, we have a few other criteria. You'll see them here on the screen, and I want to pause to mention that this information will also be provided in the application package, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and it will also be posted within the application course on Community Action Academy. So you'll have plenty of time to see all of this and review it. But just to go over them together, some additional criteria, we would also like to see evidence of implementation, practice, dedicated research and time related to the focus area of the LCG that you're interested in. Again, that really helps to make sure that because we only have a limited amount of time together, it helps to show your dedication to the subject matter, but it really kind of gives you that extra leg up when you come into the process to make sure that we can really use this time together to implement innovative practices and change. Again, I talked about it again, but we'll reiterate it here. We want to see strong leadership team representation from within your organization. In addition to having decision makers as a part of your team, we'll talk about it too. We'll need sign-off from your ED as a part of this process to make sure that your organization, again, on all levels is really committed to this process. We also want to see a demonstrated ability to track and manage data based on results and outcomes. I know we call it the learning community, but learning together is only half of what we do. The other half is helping you look at your data to track those outcomes, and we use that to help not just your organization do your work better, but the entire Community Action Network and even the field of anti-poverty networks that are looking at these different focus areas, doing this work. What can we tell them about what community action has to offer and change in these critical areas? In addition, outside of those other 3 groups, again, we kind of mentioned our Implementing Innovative Practices Learning Community Group, which again is one of our more advanced groups, and there was some information about that on the other slide. But another criteria for that is that you have to have participation in one of our previous learning community cohorts, ideally in one of the subject areas that are outlined in the group description, just so that we can make sure we really want to go forward with that group and, as the name exactly says, implement innovative practices. So that's one of our criteria for participation. So we have a few more on the next slide. All right, so a little bit more. So that's what your agency has to do, a little bit more about the process. We're looking at accepting about 10 to 15 agencies for participation in each group. And as I mentioned previously, consistent agency commitment is very important to this process. We have found over our years of doing this work, it's really important to make sure, and that's why we encourage that team of 3, but also people who are doing different things in your organization, again, to help you juggle those assignments, manage all of the different meetings, but we want to emphasize that commitment is a really important part of this process. And to help make sure that that is understood within your organization, there's actually going to be a commitment form that's a part of the application process that your ED has to sign off on. And finally, we talked about kind of designating a core team just to make sure that you can manage all of this work. It's going to be a busy 9 to 12 months, depending on the group that you're joining us for, but it's going to be so impactful, really worth it. We can't tell you how much we've heard from agencies that have participated in it, how these different assignments have really helped them think through the different parts of the learning community process and help them make sure that they can implement and sustain the programs and initiatives that they're working on within their organization. So with that, I believe I'm going to turn it back over into the more than capable hands of Tiffany, and I see Denise there, so go ahead, you guys.
Hi, everybody. Boy, you've heard a lot of information today. My name is Denise Harlow here at the partnership, and I know we're on the slide that says, should your CAA, state association, state CSBG office participate? I hope that your answer is yes. For us here at the partnership, we have a few big projects every year, including our big conferences and events. But when we were planning the launch here today, we felt that this elevates to that level of importance to our network. Getting training at a conference is a core element of learning. Convening with our peers in person at events are important. This is an opportunity for intentional training in TA in very specific areas to help you move that needle in your organization. So I hope your answer is yes. We want to participate in the learning community. We know in person would be ideal for everything, but we really can't do that today with the resources we have. So we're maximizing technology as we are today. Team members will participate in pre-scheduled meetings. You'll have it on your calendar in advance. We'll be doing things virtually. We'll be doing things in person. And you'll have assignments, and none of us like homework, but that's how we move the ball down the field, is making sure that we're intentional about that work. We think that there are some core benefits. I know Tiffany and the whole team has really talked about a lot of these benefits here today, but I just wanted to amplify what they're saying. I really see that this is really an opportunity for your agency to do focus time. We all get so busy in doing that when we actually get the time together to think and to strategize and to lay out a plan of action, we can make it happen, or at least we can move the ball down the field. We believe that this dedicated space will give you the chance to step back, to pause, to have that concrete conversation with one another. And as we know in community action, it's important to do it with peers. I can think whatever I want to in my mind, but when Tiffany and I are sitting and having the conversation about strategizing about something, the product on the other side may have been a little messier to get to, but it's a much better product. So what can we do to learn from our peers and share our own best practices? The expertise to solve the problems are in our local agencies. We think that every day. Around this country, CAPS are doing something somewhere the best in the country, and what can we do to elevate those pieces? And those subject matter experts, you saw we have FSG. You want collective impact, you want FSG at the table. So we're trying to bring to you real core level experts. Dr. Dana Long, she's been involved with us now for several years. She is just fantastic. So access both to your peers and to these subject matter experts, and we've been very successful in linking in foundations and funders into the conversation. And you never know where those conversations are going to lead to 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road. But as we all work toward elevating the visibility of community action across the country, this is a way that really elevates the great work you're doing in a different way. We think it will really help build your staff and local professional development capacity as an organization. Put those up-and-comers on getting that plan put together. They'll get her done, and they'll get it done beyond expectations sometimes if they are let to run with the ball. Can I put any more sports metaphors in? I'm not sure. We're really looking toward helping to also contribute to the knowledge. Everybody wants evidence-based, right? And we have evidence, we just have to figure out how we write it down. This project helps us document our evidence. So the next phase of grant writing across the network can use the evidence that you're creating. So I hope you'll join us as part of this learning community. So practice transformation is where it's at. That's what we're talking about. We're not going to solve all the world's problems, but we're going to hopefully transform our organization step by step to change the way we are perhaps doing business, how we're engaging our customers, how we're collecting and analyzing all that data that's flowing through your organizations. And so we do have a bit of a timeline here of things. Today is the kickoff webinar. This will be posted. We'll have it up on our website. All the materials go live today, Tiffany, is that correct? Right. So they can get online today and start their application, and that's all done through Community Action Academy?
It's all done through Community Action Academy.
Now, how about that term, Community Action Academy? I think there's some potential there for some really cool work that's going to be going on. Now, people say, Denise, I'd really like to participate in this stuff, but I just don't have the time. Well, we know. We know time is your most precious resource. We're asking for a time-limited window. Now, it's an extensive window, right? It's a year's worth of your time with pre-scheduled meetings, intensive conversations. But I hope that you will think that as long as we can get it scheduled, get our team together, we can move the ball down the field. And your peers have said, you heard Wayne Metro earlier. I know we had Arlene McAtee from Mid-Iowa do a video for us. Belva Dorsey has done some video work for us, telling the story of the impact it's had on their organization. So we'll see you in January, I know, at our conference, and in August, everyone involved in the groups will be convening together. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tiffany and exit stage left, but I just really hope that you see a benefit to participating, and that we'll see you in the 2019 cohorts. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Denise. And Courtney, can you say a little bit more about Community Action Academy for our colleagues on the line?
Sure. So a little bit about Community Action Academy. It's an online learning management system, and we are conducting our learning community application through Community Action Academy. We also have some on-demand courses. We have a couple available in there now, and we're going to be developing more over the course of the next year, like Tiffany mentioned earlier. And then we actually also have a review of some of the previous learning community groups that we have conducted, especially the open learning community groups. Those are accessible to anyone. And so I would encourage you, as you're considering applying, just to go into the Health Intersections learning community group that's been open over the past year, and go into the Results at the Community Level open group that has been available over the last year. And you can just review some of the materials that have been sent out, some of the topic areas, maybe even learn a little bit about the subject matter experts. And so that information is available there. The application is in there. If you go to moodle.communityactionpartnership.com, you can create a free account. And so we'll go on to our I'm actually going to go on to this next page here, and then I'll flip back to the previous slide. But what you can do to apply, you can go create a free account at moodle.communityactionpartnership.com. You'll receive a confirmation email shortly after you create that account, and then you're available to get into Community Action Academy right away. You can go in and click the Learning Communities category to find the application. And then you'll see there that it'll say right up at the top, Learning Community Application, and you'll want to go into the 2019 application. So there is a self-enrollment for that course, and so you should be able to enroll yourself in that, but it takes just a click to click enroll. And then you'll be able to go through the different components of the application. So there's a section that you need to read. There's a document you'll download on your computer and read. For your application information. There's a SurveyMonkey application that you'll need to complete to officially apply for the learning community. Then there is a commitment portion, so you'll need to download a commitment form, have that signed by your executive director or CEO, and then re-upload that back into the Community Action Academy system. So there's clear instructions for all this throughout. And then if you did participate in an intensive learning community group previously, and you're applying to the advanced level implementing innovative practices learning community group, you will need to also submit your current goal plan or theory of change. So if you have any problems with the application process or the course, please email me at ckohler@communityactionpartnership.com. Whenever you start the application, these are some of the things that you'll be bringing together. You'll be bringing together information on your agency, your statement of interest, what experience you have in the topic area, your goals around the topic area, as well as any kind of data that you've collected in the past to set a baseline for moving forward. So again, we hope that you all will be able to apply for the Learning Community. I encourage you to go into Community Action Academy to venture through those different open learning community groups that we've had in the past. And of course, let us know any questions you might have. So Tiffany, I'll take it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So questions. Hopefully, if you have questions, you have begun to write those in the chat window. Our team is looking at those and will respond so that everybody can see those responses. And I'll ask the team, are there any questions that we see at this time that we want to give a quick response to? So I'm seeing heads nod to say that there aren't any specific questions at this time. Please know that this is a great opportunity for you as community action colleagues, so we hope you will join us in the learning community. And as those questions come up or as specific needs arise related to the application process, we invite you to contact us. All of our team's contact information is here. So you see my name, Tiffany Marley, Jeannie Chapin, who wasn't on the line with us today, who helps with our whole family approach group, Dr. Jarl Crocker, Kevin Kelly, Courtney Kohler, Hyacinth McKinley, and Liza Porras. So we are here for you. Is there a question?
Yes.
Yes, give it to me, Liza.
So if somebody wants to know if they are in the whole family community of practice, are they also able to apply for one of the learning communities?
Absolutely. So if you are currently a member of a learning community now that will continue into 2019, that's the whole family approach group, or if you have been a member in the past, you can sign up for any of the new learning community group opportunities. You are most welcome.
And then also another question just came in asking about an earlier slide that maybe talked about participation for someone beyond a community action agency like a state association or a CSBG office, either as a part of a community action team or just on their own.
Yeah, so we strongly encourage that kind of collaboration. So we have examples in the past where state associations or state CSBG offices have teamed up with their agencies in their respective states to work on specific issues. So for example, in the state of Tennessee, it is the Tennessee State Office that has teamed up with other agencies to work on a whole family approach, and that has really laid some important groundwork for some more extended technical assistance that we have been able to do within the state of Tennessee, or will be doing in 2019. So we love the thought of others participating. And speaking of results at the community level, you may choose to invite some of your community partners even to join in as a member of your team, as that work will involve, you know, their capacity building and their efforts in the process as well.
Hi, Tiffany. I see another question in. Can agencies apply to participate in more than one group?
Absolutely. So if you feel that you have the time and the energy to participate in more than one group at one time, you totally can. Wayne Metro is a great example of that. They were members of 2 groups this year. Any other questions from the audience? If not, we thank you so much for joining today's presentation. We're excited because we hope that you will join us, and we know that we'll have an opportunity to learn and grow together. So thank you for your time, and this concludes today's webinar presentation. Make it a great day.